Okay, well, I suppose, Paul, just to begin with, to perhaps maybe continue with that theme, because of football's self-interest, do you think reform will ever kind of happen, really?
What, in terms of that competition that was proposed?
And in general, whether that's
Yeah, because I
for
think
the
it's happening
Champions
all.
League, whether that's about sorting out the finances, that type of thing.
Yeah, because I think it's been happening all the time, hasn't it? It's been happening all the time. You think of how big a deal it was when Sky TV came in and changed the Premier League, the introduction of the Premier League, um, the reworking of the European Cup into the Champions League. It's happening all the time, evolution and the different competitions. But I think the big problem is it's the money, isn't it? It's the driving. It's people are talking about clubs wanting to become franchise. I think they want to be in charge of how they make their own money, whether that's in charge of their own media, their own showing their own games, their own footage, and I think that's the driving force behind it. And it's been there before. I know it was talk in the Championship with Leeds and Derby County, for example, and people like that wanting to get a better share or a more favourable share in their eyes, or more just share in their eyes for the amount of times they're on TV or the amount of revenue they bring in because of their support. So yeah, I think discussions have always been there regarding this. I think it should be separate though to competition, and I think it should be separate to any sort of change or any sort of say the Champions League, for example, been changed in any way, shape or form just to suit an individual club. It has to be the competition first in that respect. It has to be for the integrity of the competition, for the value everyone puts on it, and for the fans' sake. I just hate to think that you're never rewarded for how well you performed, regardless of the amount of money you can bring in, regardless of the amount of money you can generate. I just hate to think you weren't rewarded for your performances on the pitch.
To that extent then, football has really shown itself in a great light this week, hasn't it? Because the fans principally, and then leading figures within the game and in the punditry circles and all of that have really come out in defence of that to say, look, enough is enough. It can't be a franchise system. It can't be that type of scenario. It's well, without wishing to sound too yokel, it ain't how it works in this country.
No, it's not. But and we also have to understand that then when you're arguing the other way, that it's not how it works in, say, the States, for example, where franchise and the fact that if you've got enough money, you can go and buy and create a football club, American football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, you can go and buy one and get them competing in a league. So we have to understand that mindset as well. But yeah, it's totally different here. It's all about the competition. And don't forget, we've actually made adjustments in terms of like introducing playoffs and things like that to keep the interest in the season to the very end as long as we possibly can. Why? Because we want a value on the outcome of a game, and that for me is what it's all about. It's what it's all about. I hate talk of, and your mid-table club towards the end of the season, people say you've got nothing to play for. You've always got something to play for. You should have. And any sort of decision, any sort of change that still promotes that way of thinking, I'd be against it totally. You play a game of football to win and lose, that's it, and you want to win.
So to crowbar in a change then onto Sheffield United, what are Sheffield United playing for now then?
Yeah, playing for the points. We have to win, and for different motivations, different reasons. Each person in there, whether it's the career at Sheffield United, the career elsewhere, to play in front of the fans hopefully towards the end of the season. We're looking to win games and produce performances. No one wants to go through as I said, the 14 months that we have. It's been tough for everyone, but there's only one way out of it, and that's hard work, and we're determined to do that. So
Brighton then, the next challenge, safe-ish but not quite safe. What are you expecting from them?
Yeah, good footballing team. With lots of good ideas when they're in possession of the ball, and I'm expecting a good game. I enjoy watching them play, and as I said, we're trying to be really positive and keep producing performances with energy and playing on the front foot, because although our season's over in terms of we know what our fate is, we've still got 6 games where we've got points we can win, and as I said, players are playing for their own pride and also their own careers, so that's our focus, that's the importance of the game in front of us, and we'll continue to do that in the remaining games.
Does it in any way, now that fate is sealed, take the pressure off?
We can talk about it. I said that, so there's no noose around anyone's neck now in terms of, scared of what's it's done, it's gone. And it's got to be about looking forwards. It's got to be about performances, not only for this season but next. And as he says, the fate is sealed. People can stop talking about it. We know what's happened. We know it's done. But without that, I also don't like the phrase, you've got nothing to lose. That can sometimes be construed as it doesn't matter anymore, and that's what I don't want us to be, and I don't want any talk from that of anyone. So nothing to lose in terms of, the pressure's off, we know it's fate, but it probably matters more than most now, because we have to start looking forward. We have to start levelling out, bottoming out, ready to go again next season. So that's our aim.
And pride comes into it as well, doesn't it? To not pick up a point in the final 6 matches would hurt, wouldn't it?
Of course it'd hurt. And as I said, bigger picture than that, playing for careers, you're always getting judged. And we have to keep stressing that, and we understand that. Listen, subconsciously, it is difficult. There'll be no one taking the foot off the gas at all. But subconsciously, there is a little change. You mentioned we're hoping that little subconscious switch is a positive one in terms of a bit more freedom. Because what's the worst that can happen? It's already happened. We've gone down. We'll keep playing forwards, running forwards, being positive, and trying to pick up 3 points. And that's all we're in charge of now. As I said before, straight after the Wolves game, we're in charge of how we look now and how we behave in the last 6 games.
You were speaking in a different press conference about wanting some kind of clarity for planning purposes for the immediate future and in the short term as well. Do those types of decisions accelerate now that the relegation has been confirmed, or were they kind of in the hand anyway, because it wasn't necessarily a dramatic shock that relegation was confirmed last weekend, or had been on the cards in any case?
Yeah, I think you probably speak to the wrong person regarding stuff like that. You'd be probably talking about clarity on manager's position, things like that, comings goings. Comings goings will all be taken care of in the close season, as they always are when the window's open. But in terms of conversations, what I've been a part of, it's always been about that. What do we think we need? What's the most important thing going forward next season if the club want to do well? And I said afterwards, you've got to keep the squad together. Good group of boys who are determined to do well. Keep the squad together, add where we need to add with as much quality as possible. But is it going to speed up? I don't know, because you need to have a man in charge to make those decisions.
And presumably then, that clearly now isn't going to happen until the end of the season, but it must be good for you that your input is valued across this process when they ask you.
I think I got you there, kids. Input value. Yeah, of course it is. We care about the club. We're in a position here now where, and I was really clear to everyone that everything I say won't be for my self-interest. It'll be for the good of the club. In my experience of the different positions I've held within a football club, at different clubs, I'm really clear on what I think it takes to be successful in terms of the planning and the structure and organisation, and what a healthy environment is to win games and to produce players, and I'm really clear on that and what it is, and I can keep saying that whether you listen to or not is a different matter, but there's certain things that you cannot bend on and you can't shift on. So we need to have that direction, but as I said, we also need to have a man in charge to add that little stamp, that little style, for the people, especially the players, to turn to, and that'll be important next season, that the new man's allowed to make his own changes, make the differences, make the little tweaks he wants to in terms of personnel, staff, players, and really put his stamp on the place.
Just finally then, team news issues in between matches. How are you looking ahead of this match against Brighton?
Yeah, similar group, so we'll be similar to the last game in terms of personnel available. We've got Robbo back training this week, which has been good for us and him. So he's had a couple of days with us now, which is great. Obviously, he's been out quite a long period of time, similar to Sander, and he's a little bit behind Sander. So, Sander's getting more training games, and Robbo's been back in for a couple of days as well. They're probably the only changes.
Right, okay. So, I mean, in terms of Berger then, do you anticipate seeing him in a Sheffield United shirt between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. When that is, as I said, wait and see, led by him and his rehab and the medical team. But I've been really pleased with him. He's pleased, making strides every day. As I said, we're just pushing him now for the length of time he's been out. But he's been working hard enough to make the necessary improvements. We know he's going to be behind in terms of game time and how comfortable he is on the pitch if and when he does get on there, but he's working towards that, and I'm confident that we'll get him out there.
This is a bit of a cliched question at this time of the year for certain teams, but is it in your mind to maybe give some of the younger players and the under-23s some game time then?
If they've been performing well enough and good enough, we've introduced a few this season. We've had a couple of debuts already. We've had different bodies on the bench, which is great, and we may have had more if there weren't the COVID restrictions, So it would be good, without a doubt, but you can't give them away. I've seen too much harm done when you're giving debuts away for the sake of it. And if the facts will back that up in terms of players making the debuts, first team debuts at clubs, those making them at the beginning of a season have far more successful careers than those making them at the end of a season, because a lot of those are token gestures. But we haven't given a token gesture yet. The boys who've been involved have earned the right to be involved, and it'll continue to be that way.
Because as part of your other role, all of these players are training in ways that would allow them to fit into the formations that have been around the first team, aren't they? So it's not like they would be experiencing something completely alien.
No, they know the roles. That's been something we've been really clear on. We've made sure we know that they know the roles in this similar system for that reason. So if the manager then is needing a body, he knows he can call on them. If the manager then is thinking of making a change, or is watching the 23s, they're performing in a way which is more likely to catch his eye, and that's been the thought through the whole season.